In the last 30 days, a Chinese AI model beat everything OpenAI and Anthropic built for coding. Anthropic finished a model so powerful they decided not to release it. And GPT-4o, the AI that started this entire era, was quietly retired. You've been using these tools. Here is what is actually happening behind them. First, the thing everyone gets wrong. ChatGPT is not a model. GPT is. ChatGPT is the app, the door you walk through. Copilot is a door. The Gemini app is a door. Claude.ai is a door. Different logos, different interfaces, but behind each one is a separate AI model doing the work. When you understand that, everything else on this list makes more sense. GPT-5.4. In April 2026, OpenAI retired GPT-4o completely, the model that launched the AI revolution for mainstream users, gone from the app, replaced by something significantly more capable. The current flagship is GPT-5.4, released March 5th, 2026. It is not just a language model anymore. GPT-5.4 has native computer use capabilities built directly into it, meaning it can navigate your screen, fill out forms, operate desktop software, and chain actions together across applications without being told each step. On OS World Verified, the benchmark that measures AI's ability to operate desktop environments, GPT-5.4 scored 75%. The average person scores 72.4% on the same test. An AI that can use a computer better than most people is not a future prediction. It shipped in March. GPT-5.4's real advantage has always been ecosystem. Hundreds of millions of users, the plugin library every third-party app builds on, and a release cadence that moves faster than any other lab. The numbering gets confusing even for people who follow this closely. GPT-5, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 Codex, 5.4, and now 5.5 already rolling out. That pace is deliberate. Improvements land before you fully absorb the last one. OpenAI's strategy has never been to be the best at any single thing. It's to be everywhere. Claude 4.6 and Opus 4.7. In early March 2026, something that had never happened before happened. Claude pushed ChatGPT out of the #1 spot on the Apple App Store. Not a gradual climb, a surge, triggered partly by Anthropic's public refusal to allow its models to be used for autonomous weapons and mass surveillance, which brought a wave of users who wanted to support a different kind of AI company. Daily signups quadrupled. Free active users grew over 60% since January. Claude hit 11 million daily users. The current model lineup, Claude 4.6 is the mid-tier workhorse, roughly the right tool for most professional tasks at a fraction of Opus pricing. Claude Opus 4.7, released April 16, 2026, is Anthropic's most capable generally available model. Opus 4.7 is better at long, complex coding tasks, the kind that require autonomous planning, self-correction, and verification of its own outputs. It introduces task budgets, which give developers control over how much computation Claude allocates to an agentic task. It also introduced a new, more permissive image resolution, the first Claude model capable of processing high-resolution visual input at the level that professional workflows require. In developer communities, Claude dominates every serious coding benchmark: Live Code Bench, SWE Bench, real-world software engineering evaluations that test whether a model can fix actual bugs in actual repositories, not toy problems. Claude's tone also sets it apart. It's consistently rated the least sycophantic major model. If your idea is wrong, Claude says why. Most users eventually find that more useful than enthusiasm. There is one model above Opus 4.7 in Anthropic's internal rankings. It has not been released to the public. That section comes later. Gemini 3.1 Pro. Raw benchmark performance is not Gemini's primary advantage. Integration is. Gemini 3.1 Pro is built into Gmail, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Search, Android, Maps, and Meet. If your professional life runs on Google, which for most people it does, Gemini already has context that no other model can match. It has read your emails. It has seen your calendar. It knows your documents exist. On pure reasoning benchmarks, Gemini 3.1 Pro leads 13 out of 16 major evaluations according to Google DeepMind, with approximately 94 to 95% accuracy on expert-level scientific reasoning. Its context window supports up to 2 million tokens, meaning you can feed it an entire novel, a full code base, a year of business emails, and ask questions that span the whole thing. Gemini 3.1 Flash is the speed variant, around 90 to 95% of Pro's capability, significantly faster and cheaper. For most everyday tasks, Flash is the more practical choice, one trust consideration worth stating plainly. Google's primary business is advertising. There is no measurable evidence of bias in factual queries, but it's worth having in the background when using an AI whose parent company profits from data, the same way you'd notice if your mechanic also sold car parts. Grok 4. Grok 4 is XAI's current flagship, multimodal, 256,000 context window, with image and video generation built in. Its defining advantage is real-time access to everything on X, trending discussions, breaking news, public sentiment, processed faster than any model that depends on web crawling. There is also Grok 4 Heavy, which uses multiple AI agents working simultaneously on complex reasoning problems. At $300 per month, it is not for casual use, but for organizations that need depth on hard analytical tasks. Nothing else runs multiple agents natively at that level. Grok's positioning is deliberate. It answers questions that other models decline. Honest assessment. On topics where other models are overcautious, this is genuinely useful. On topics where caution exists because the information is actually sensitive, the same property is a trade-off you should be aware of. For real-time current events, public sentiment analysis, and X-native content, Grok has no close competitor. DeepSeek. DeepSeek arrived in early 2025 and changed the conversation permanently. A Chinese AI lab matched GPT-4 level performance at approximately 2.7% of the compute cost. That number is not a typo. The reaction from US tech companies when DeepSeek's benchmark results dropped was described by people inside those companies as genuine panic. NVIDIA lost nearly $600 billion in market cap in a single day after the release, as investors questioned whether the expensive chips the entire AI industry was built on were actually necessary. DeepSeek R1 is fully open source. Download it. Run it on your own hardware. No subscription, no usage fees. It uses a mixture of experts architecture, meaning only a fraction of its hundreds of billions of parameters activate per query. That's how it stays efficient despite its scale. The data privacy question. DeepSeek is a Chinese company. If you run it via the API, your data flows through their servers. If you run it locally, which smaller distilled versions support on consumer hardware, the data stays with you. DeepSeek's real significance isn't any single model, it's what it proved. Frontier AI performance doesn't require American infrastructure or American budgets. The AI race is genuinely global. The next section makes that even clearer. Llama 4 Maverick. Llama 4. Maverick has 400 billion total parameters, more than most proprietary models will publicly disclose, but uses a mixture of experts' design that activates only 17 billion parameters per query. That efficiency means it runs on a single NVIDIA H100 server, not a data center. One machine. Maverick supports a 1 million token context window, enough for entire code bases, long legal document sets, or full research archives in a single session. It is completely free. Download the weights. Run it on your own hardware. No per token fees. No API bill. No restrictions on commercial use. Meta's goal with Llama has never been to sell access. It's to make Meta's AI infrastructure the default foundation of the entire AI development ecosystem. That strategy is working. More third-party applications run on Llama variants than any other open model family. The limitation is practical rather than technical. Running a 400 billion parameter model requires hardware that most individuals don't own. Cloud providers offer access, but at that point, the cost equation shifts. For organizations with the infrastructure, Llama 4 Maverick is the strongest case yet for not paying for an AI subscription. Midjourney. Midjourney did not invent AI image generation. It made it impossible to ignore. The turning point was somewhere around version 5, when images produced by Midjourney started appearing in design portfolios, advertising campaigns, book covers, and magazine spreads, sometimes without disclosure. Professional illustrators noticed first, then art directors. Then the conversation became mainstream. Midjourney's advantage is aesthetic coherence. It consistently produces images that look deliberate, like they belong in a portfolio rather than a test run. Starting at around $10 per month, the competition has intensified significantly. GPT Image, integrated directly into ChatGPT, produces photorealistic results and, critically, can actually spell words correctly in images, which sounds trivial until you've spent time trying to fix AI text. Flux is the open-source challenger, runs locally, free, with prompt precision that frequently outperforms Mid-Journey on complex or specific briefs. Stable Diffusion remains the customization option for anyone willing to invest time in the learning curve. Unmatched control, but not for beginners. Mid-Journey is still the gold standard for beauty, for accuracy. Flux, for integration into an existing workflow. GPT Image. Sora and Veo 3. AI video generation has moved from obviously artificial to occasionally indistinguishable in roughly 18 months. OpenAI's Sora leads on cinematic quality and physics realism. Water flows correctly, fabric moves naturally, characters maintain consistent appearances across scenes instead of morphing mid-shot. Clips up to 1 minute with synchronized audio. Google's Veo 3 is the competitor, with strong performance on complex multi-character scenes and higher resolution outputs. Stock footage companies noticed both launches. The technology is not yet at goodbye Hollywood. Complex physics, hands, and multi-character interactions still produce errors frequently enough that every output requires review. But the direction is clear and moving fast. Productions that currently use stock footage for establishing shots, background elements, and B-roll material are already running budget conversations about AI video. The ones not having that conversation are running it next year. 11 Labs and voice cloning. 11 Labs can clone a voice from a short audio sample. The legitimate applications are significant. Dubbing content for accessibility, translating video content into other languages while preserving the speaker's voice, giving people who have lost their ability to speak a digital restoration of how they sounded. These are not hypothetical. They are in production use today. The illegitimate applications are equally significant. Scam calls using a family member's voice, political deepfakes, financial fraud, targeting individuals who recognize a specific voice as trustworthy. 11 Labs and competitors have implemented detection tools and usage terms. Those tools are imperfect. Voice cloning exists as a category regardless of what any individual platform does with it. This section is the only one on this list where the technology itself is neutral, and the outcome depends entirely on who is using it. The responsible use case is real and valuable. The harmful use case is also real and growing. Both are true simultaneously. GitHub Copilot and Cursor. 2 years ago, AI coding assistants were something developers tried occasionally out of curiosity. In 2026, they are standard infrastructure. GitHub Copilot is the most widely deployed, embedded inside Visual Studio Code, JetBrains, and now GitHub itself, with millions of professional developers using it daily. Cursor is the challenger. It runs on Claude and has built its interface specifically around the workflow of large-scale code editing, not just autocomplete, but full file context, multi-file edits, and agentic task execution. In developer communities, Cursor consistently leads benchmark comparisons for real-world software development. The distinction worth understanding: Copilot is the product most developers already have access to through enterprise agreements. Cursor is what developers choose when they're buying with their own preferences. The jobs these tools have most affected are not senior engineers. It's the junior roles, the entry-level positions that used to involve writing boilerplate, converting designs to code, and fixing simple bugs. Those tasks are now handled in minutes by AI. The people who use these tools well are not being replaced. They're becoming significantly more productive than people who don't. Perplexity. Perplexity answers questions with citations instead of links. Not, here are 10 pages that might contain what you're looking for. Here is the answer, and here are the sources it came from. That sounds like a small change. It is actually a fundamental challenge to Google's core product. Google's response, AI overviews at the top of search results, is direct acknowledgement that Perplexity identified a real user preference shift. The limitation: Perplexity sometimes synthesizes sources incorrectly, presenting a confident answer assembled from citations that don't quite support it. Source checking remains necessary. The advantage: for research tasks where you know what you're looking for, but not which source has it, Perplexity routinely saves the 20 minutes of tab opening that a standard search requires. It's growing fast enough that Google changed a product it had not substantively changed in 25 years. That is the clearest possible signal of competitive pressure. Claude Mythos Preview, the AI Anthropic built and decided not to release. In April 2026, Anthropic announced Project Glasswing. The name refers to a butterfly with transparent wings, visible but fragile. The framing was deliberate. Inside that announcement was confirmation that Anthropic had built a model called Claude Mythos Preview, the most capable model they had ever produced, scoring higher than any other model across their full benchmark suite. Anthropic announced it would not release Mythos to the public. The stated reason: cybersecurity risk. The model's capabilities in offensive security were advanced enough that Anthropic's safety team concluded a general release would create meaningful risk to critical infrastructure. Mythos Preview was released exclusively to a small group of cybersecurity companies and government partners for controlled evaluation. Anthropic stated clearly that Opus 4.7, released the same week, is less broadly capable than Mythos Preview. This is the first time a major AI lab has publicly acknowledged building a model it deemed too capable to release. The precedent that sets, for regulation, for competition, for how the industry self-governs, is something that will be discussed for years. GLM 5.1 and Kimi K 2.6. GLM 5.1 was released April 7, 2026, by XAI in China. It was trained entirely on Huawei Ascend 910B chips, no NVIDIA hardware at all, on SWE Bench Pro. The hardest software engineering benchmark in AI, GLM 5.1 scored 58.4%. Kimi K 2.6, released April 20th by Moonshot AI, scored 58.6% on the same benchmark. Both scores place them at the very top of the global SWE Bench Pro leaderboard. Both models are fully open source, available for free download. Both are significantly cheaper to run via API than GPT-5.4 or Claude Opus 4.7. The claim that the AI race is between American companies and American infrastructure is no longer accurate. Chinese labs without access to the most advanced American chips built models that compete with the most capable models in the world. The geopolitical implications of that fact are being actively debated in governments. The technical reality is already settled. What's coming? GPT 5.5 is already rolling out to ChatGPT Plus and Pro users. Grok 5 is in development. Claude Mythos, in some form, is Anthropic's stated goal to eventually release broadly, with safeguards that don't yet exist. Every model on this list will look different in 6 months. The pace of change in this industry has no historical parallel. The last technology that moved this fast was the internet itself. And even that took years to affect most jobs in most industries. AI is not taking that long. The question is no longer whether these tools will change how work gets done. It is whether you are using them or being replaced by someone who is. Every model on this list is already affecting jobs, some more obviously than others. The 7 levels of how AI will replace your job is on screen right now.